All right, we in the championship rounds with the one and only King Amin of Essex, and of course my co-host Bodywork Boxing in the building. Let the people know where they can find you before we get to it, champ.
It's Bodywork Boxing on YouTube, Mr. underscore Bodywork Boxing on the gram. And it's Bodywork Boxing 24/7 at Gmail if you want to reach out.
Body work is very important, ladies and gentlemen, and what we're going to cover today is very important. We're going to get a lot of it. You're going to understand the depth of 135. I think by the time we get done with this one, we're starting off with past weekend's action. It was a lot going on, but we had Ortiz, that is Jamaine Ortiz, the technician, versus Vasily Lomachenko. This is Lomachenko's, I think, third or fourth bout since his Teofimo Lopez loss. Jamaine Ortiz coming off two solid wins, a draw and a win, I think. But what'd you think of Ortiz's performance in that fight?
Actually, he made a good account of himself. For me, I think he made a good account of himself. I was looking at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I always kind of like to go back and I say, all right, is CompuBox going to tell me what I saw with my own eyes? And to my surprise, he actually outlanded Lomachenko in power shots 34 to 30%. Lomachenko in total punches, Lomachenko outlanded him by 1%, but Lomachenko also beat him in the jab category, which was kind of what my eyes were saying. But the way the fight was called, we brought up that a couple times now with how these fights are being commentated on. And I think that if you got lost in what was being said, because let's be honest, I think in the first or second round, they weren't even calling punches. I was like, they're just still giving backdrop. I'm like, this is the main event. All the backdrop has been backdropped. You know what I'm saying? But they were still talking about the history of them, But I think their fight was a lot closer, than what was rendered, as far as judging. But what did you think?
No, I agree with that, man. I thought that you talk about the first few minutes of the fight, and they're talking about, Loma, and they're missing out on how Ortiz is countering and moving pretty good. And he was being the bigger man, although Loma was able to hold it and turn him a bit with that jab, off of the jab, because his jab was super quick. So it was Loma's movement
Right.
and him being able to counter off of his movement, but Ortiz was like quick countering and throwing more combinations. He landed, I think,
Right.
a lot more combinations.
Mm-hmm.
So and I asked, how do you think Ortiz did? Because we're going to talk about the perception of how Loma did or where Loma's at, but I think the fight was very tough, and Loma was like, he was bruised up. He did not
Yeah.
get through that one easy, and that to me was the credit to Ortiz's counters. He is definitely a technician. When I think of what he may or may not could have done better, I'm not really sure. I think maybe if he, because it's hard. Loma's footwork and the speed did give him troubles when I don't know if he got caught being flat, or was those the times when he was landing his power shots against Loma's jab. So I don't know what he could have done to turn the fight over. But yes, I thought it was very close, although I obviously gave Loma the decision.
I think this is what I think. If I could just touch on that. I think that he was hesitant at times. And also look at the fact that I think Ortiz is, according to the numbers, Ortiz had he had touched like a high 37, I think, in the eighth round. But when I look at it, Loma's biggest output was in the 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then I guess since he had it in the bag, he dropped off in the 12th. But what that told me, it took Loma longer to warm up. See, with some of these veteran guys and being out and getting that ring rust, that chess match, sometimes you got to jump out. You ever shock somebody in that chess match and you move your piece, but you just jump out there and you got to do. That's what he could have did. See, with a veteran guy like Loma, you don't give him a chance to warm up. You pounce on them and cause controversy, and I think there were times where it's like, sell out. This is the biggest fight. Sell out. Like sometimes you gotta sell out. But I think that if he understood that Loma just had him and that, he didn't want to embarrass, I think he kind of like, I ain't gonna say he dialed it in. It was just that he may not have had nothing else to give, but Loma didn't, he really didn't look the same. You know what I'm saying? This version,
Sure.
this is almost like a new version. So that's what I think he could have did. He could have been more opportunistic, and he could have got started a little bit faster.
And when you say that, it made me immediately think, because again, I'm comparing him to Tio with the size thing. That was the difference. Tio jumped on him and got out to that start, and he never let up. And then by the
Yep.
time Loma got warm, the fight was over. If Ortiz would have
Yep.
started sooner, jumped on him faster, he might have been able to pull off the big upset. But let's talk about, we're gonna double back to Loma in a second, because obviously we know that Loma and Haney is the fight to be made, or is it not, right?
Right.
First of all, where do we stand with that?
I think Devin looked like he saw food.
Yeah.
I've never seen Devin like that. I'm a ceremonial guy. So, when I say Devin is actually growing on me as far as how he's going about the thing, some of the other shenanigans, but he really is growing on me. But him getting inside the ring, that's a statement. That's saying, hey, I'm here to play ball. I think he saw food the way he was looking. It wasn't a lot of trash talking. Loma made a little joke about the size, and Devin Haney like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? He looking like, hey, what kind of cornbread is that? You using brown sugar? What you sprinkling in that cornbread? Because I'm thinking Devin looking like he's seafood. I think Bob is looking, you know what I'm saying? Because I was looking at that and I was like, man, Tank stops that version. But I think that is the fight to make. I'm kind of excited, about it. I like the etiquette of how Devin handled it. They got material to go by and the storyline to draw from now, seeing them inside the ring to build the fight. And I think the stage is set. Now, what happens now, I don't know.
Well, you bring me to a great point, bro, because I'm gonna lay a few things out right here. I definitely agree that Haney and Loma is the fight to be made. I want that fight. There's a lot of finality. Look, Tio's out the picture, and it's like full circle. It comes right back to these two guys. This is what we were talking about. The money's probably going to be right on the table. It's the third fight on Devin's deal, so he can take this fight. Seems like food. Linares said it too, right? But let me sprinkle my theory. You said it might be a little cornbread, like it's a little brown sugar in it. I'm going to put some cloves in it, maybe, right? Everybody don't like to taste the cloves now, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now look, what if, and I told you I was going to save this because I want your genuine reaction. What if this is just a feeler? Bob is like, yeah, because that's why I gotta get this fight made right away, Body, this is the fight right now, Body. He's got to get the fight made, right? And Devin is like, cool, we're going to see what that bread is like because I'm in the third fight option. But somehow Bob in the back of his mind is saying, I'm giving this fight to Shakur because I don't really think Devin's going to stay. So in a way, I think Bob is still orchestrating Shakur, and that's why we're hearing so much talk about him at 135, even though he ain't even had a fight at 135 yet. But we're hearing so much talk about him at 135 because in the event that Devin decides, you know what, nah, I'm cool on that. Unless they give him an offer he can't refuse. And nobody would look at Devin as ducking Loma with that version of Loma we saw, right? But, what do you think about that particular theory? This is just me floating something out there.
No, I'm with it. This is what I think it is. I think that if Bob presents the offer and Lomachenko is with it and Devin doesn't lollygag, that fight can happen. If there's any hesitation or anything, because at the end of the day, we know Bob want to keep that belt right where it's at. Typically, you don't really allow somebody to fight, get a belt, keep a belt, and then move, roll out. So I think it's going to be, if we see that fight, there'll be contingencies, a la a re-up or something to say, hey, okay, look, I'm going to give you this opportunity. I'm going to seal your hole. Because for me, him fighting Lomachenko, even that version, I would say your legacy right there stamped. It's already stamped by him going over there and getting undisputed and then defending it. Sure. I already give him full credit. And I'm like, okay, cool, you good. I think that for him and the name that he needs, this version, that version, whatever version, he get Lomachenko on there, he's set at 35, I'll be satisfied with, the perception of everything now. So I'm with it. I'm thinking that's going to come with some contingencies. And yes, you are right. They wanted to see that reaction. They wanted to hear if they talking. And it seems like I'm getting mixed feelings right now in the YouTube streets out here in the boxing world. I'm getting kind of mixed feelings about whether or not people really want. I want to see it. I
I
say
want to
yes.
see it too.
This is boxing fixing itself if that fight happens. That's what I
Sure.
said a long time ago.
And I guess the one thing that made me go in that direction, because suppose, and this is all just me, suppose they say, all right, yeah, we're gonna give you a Loma fight, of course, but it's a rematch. And Devin's like, but I told y'all, my body, I'm through with 135. I'm getting bigger. I'm out here living, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not doing 135. So, I'm guessing that if they offer him a rematch clause, he may just say, let Shakur and Loma fight for the vacant belts, and I'll move on to what I'm doing. And there's no shame in that. Because I
Right.
don't think he wants to be tied to two more fights at 35, given his physical sacrifice that he's made for it. But if I'm wrong, then we're in for an exciting. I mean, this guy's got he's gonna have an exciting feather in his cap at 135 to take the belts, right? To come undisputed, then go overseas and defend them, then come back home, and then he'll take that fight anyway. Have it, Devin take me. They might have it at Vegas. It's a Vegas type fight. They may have it in New York, Madison Square Garden, right? Because they've been building Loma in Madison Square. Devin would take that fight in Madison Square and just be like, yo, whatever it is, as long as y'all paying me properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's interesting, man. But I definitely hope you're right that boxing fixes itself and we just get
Yes.
Loma and Haney without the trickeration.
Yes. Yes. That's what we're pulling for. We're gonna put positive vibes out that happens.
Well, because we talking about these guys, like I said, they're talking about Stevenson at 135, and he ain't even laced him up in that particular division yet, right?
Right.
Tank has been known to go up to 140, and there's questions about Devin going up to 140, right?
Right.
Tim Bradley put out some an interesting, I guess, his breakdown of these three guys, these three gentlemen, if you will, and who's the best and who can be beat, and he kind of positions Shakur as the guy to beat between the three. And I just gotta ask you, it might lead to a little bit of hitting in the kidneys, a little below the belts, say, but we're gonna have to
Yeah.
go there because
Yeah.
we knew this day would come between you and
Yeah.
I.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to choose who you got, body. I mean, you got Shakur, you got Tank, you got Devin. Who you got?
I never waver. It's Tank. This Tank. When we was looking at those articles, right, and I was looking at what they said, and that's why I say as far as the boxing lens and how you view it, because I was looking at some of the metrics. They had boxing IQ, footwork, and how they had in place. I'm like, by what rationale do you give it? Now, this is what I'm gonna say, right? There's always an asterisk because Tank is not getting the names, but we see what he's capable of. We see him go up to 40. We see what he does at 35. We see what he does to some people because people don't use the triangulation, but we see what he can do to somebody, and then we'll see somebody like Keith Thurman fight him, or we'll see Devin Haney fight him, or we'll see Isaac Cruz fight him, and we kind of we get more data. We get a little bit more to go by than just fantasy fighting, right? And so I know that he has all the skills to pay the bills, right? When I look at Shakur, my only answer, because I call him the definition, I am a Shakur fan, right? I am. My only thing is when he was at 26, he didn't see Gary. When he was at 30, he didn't see Oshaki. So to question who can see him at 35, like, who do we know? Like, who do we know? I mean, we know who
Joet
we want to see
Gonzalez.
him against.
We know Joet Gonzalez. We
Yeah, we
know
know. We
we
know that.
we know what's the boy named Nicotine? I don't even make Nicotine, right? Because he just
We know.
right
Yes. Yes.
triangulation. We know Valdez,
Mm-hmm.
of course, right?
Yes.
We know
Yes.
Conceição. Now, I can agree with you that
Yes.
Tank, I would say Tank in his opposition and Shakur in his opposition are about even. I would say it's about even in terms of names because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, look what Pedraza's still going on to do. Pedraza's not a wash.
Right.
Leo, depending on what
Right.
he do in his next bout, he could still be in the. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't throw these again.
Mm-hmm.
If Barrios was good enough for Thurman, then he's good enough for anybody else after Tank fought him. So again, I'm not diminishing
Right.
any of that opposition. So I would put
Mm-hmm.
them on par. I wouldn't take that away. I think, and where are they getting these metrics from? These motherfuckers pulling out numbers and talk about this. I would say if I had to just strip it down and say triangulation, I love that term. That's brilliant, brother. Because if it came to strength and power, even though Haney has been fighting at the division for longer, I would give it to Shakur, right? Against Haney. But of the three of them, Tank is the dog when it comes to the power. Like, that's it. Haney might have the advantage in skills over all three of them. But then I think Shakur is like, he's right, the best combination of power, footwork, and distance. His ring generalship, I don't know, man. Him and Haney would have a hell of a chess match. So between the three of them, I mean, biases aside, I gotta choose Shakur. I think that's pretty evident. But I mean, neither of these guys. Look at what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I can't disagree with you. Like I said, it's a hard for me. It's like if it was anybody else, I have Shakur, hands down. What I know is that, see, I'm looking at, okay, if you have a certain style, who is going to actually make you alter your style? I believe that Tank, you know what I'm saying, like because we're talking about defensive oriented fighters. So we kind of put, you know, Shakur and Devin kind of like in the same category, even though I think defensively, to me, it's a clear difference.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like Shakur's a little bit more surgical. You know, he looks more like if you were talking about punch placement and how you punch from certain angles and how you move and how swift and how you see, I think it's a sharper. Shakur has a sharper version, and statistically, he doesn't really get hit. He's like 13-1.
And if
you know, that's just doing the numbers.
And just adding on to that is because he's going to be able to land more accurate power punches, whereas Devin's going to lead with the jab and still have precision and still be able to counter, but he's not necessarily launching an offense, you know, with his offhand. And talking about making you switch up, isn't it interesting how 2 to 3 are southpaws?
Yes, and we're not going to see, and we're really not. I mean, to see Tank against, to see Tank against a southpaw, that'll be something special. You know what I'm saying? That, I mean, and with a defensive, defensive guru like Shakur, with the, if you want to say Mayweather-esque as far as the hit and not get hit, and how when he do hit, it's almost like embarrassing when he really want to tee off. I just think that it comes a point in time where Tank is going to say, "Look, I'm not going to let you run around like that." And he's going to put you in a position that, as that clock ticks, he's going to put you in a position that you're going to have to do something different than what you've been done, which is uncharacteristic, which I think that he can make either of them more uncomfortable than they can make him, because they're going to be trying to evade and hit and get in where they can fit in. He's going to be trying to hit and hurt and make them uncomfortable and put them. See, Devin, he can already go and make him fight on the inside, and that's already like, well, he don't want to be there. So anytime he puts that, you're going to get something that you don't used to see from somebody like Devin. Sure. Either way, it's going to be a chess match. I respect them all. I can't bet against Tank. I just can't.
And listen, the power is the equalizer, and Tank is definitely the most powerful of the three. So, you know what I mean? If it came down to it and you had to pick blindly, you know what I'm saying? Nobody could be mad. And then it's kind of like, it's a shame that his boxing IQ gets minimized amongst, some of the attributes that the other guys have. But it's just beautiful to have the three of them. And we're going to see how it goes, how far it goes with, whether they actually get a chance to face off or any combination, any variety. But something to look forward to in the future. But what people have been looking forward to, and I happen to know this to be fact because they've been watching very closely, Women's Boxing Wednesday has become a staple in this community. Shout out to everybody that's paying attention. And we want y'all to pay attention to some names you might be familiar with, but it's very, very important. Both pioneers in their own right. I'm going to give Body the floor with his pick for Women's Boxing Wednesday.
Everybody's surprised I'm picking Clarissa Shields. I have never made a video specifically for Clarissa, and I've owed her that, for some time now. I think her latest fight really kind of like sealed the deal for me and made me appreciate her more. Why? Because she faced the same kind of commentary that we face, what we hear. But what my eyes saw was that what really separates her is her defense. I really don't think that people appreciated what she was able to do up against the ropes. And this whole body language and this and that, like the jargon sometimes can be so much, but this woman was swimming without getting wet in that fight. If you go back and you actually really look at it, what she was able to do, how she was able to evade, you know, I might have been expecting a little bit more power, but what she was able to do as far as deliver offensively, she was able to punch when she wanted to. And she just looked extra crispy on defense. And I think that's a characteristic of hers that, you know, it's when you got somebody with that size and that can really, you know, hit that way, you know, I think that it was special for her to showcase her defense. You know, I know she goes around, she's saying she the GOAT, you know, and she's triune, basically triple undisputed, you know. So, you know, I had to get my hats off to her, you know, and I think that the biggest part of her game is the defense, you know, her defensive aspect, you know, for her to be that size and how she move and how she can deliver when she wants, you know. So I just wanted to highlight her and say that, you know, I congratulate her because I was trying to actually give some of the other fighters that people didn't know. And since some of the bigger ones that everybody know, I was like kind of trying to not do it. But I need to give her a just due before it get too late. And it's believed that I don't respect her. She's an awesome fighter, an awesome boxer. She handled everything with class, you know, in that fight. And I just wanted to salute her this week.
Even though there have been others before her, I believe like the quote Clarissa Shields is like LL Cool J. Like people might not understand. There was a time when Jay-Z ain't want no smoke with LL Cool J when it came to battling. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, right,
you
right.
know, he was on the track with DMX and all these guys. And I say that to say Clarissa Shields as an Olympian, back-to-back gold medals. I mean, you hear it, but you have to understand it. There's not many people, male or female, that have done it in history, and what she's been able to do, especially in this new incarnation with the defense, adding the power and countering, you know, just brilliantly, always showing respect due. I want to shout out my fighter that I gotta be real. I'm going with it for the salacious manner, but she's really hard though. She really hard. This is Ebony Bridges. Ebony Bridges came onto the scene, and I think her appearance is always going to be striking, and people are going to be attracted to that. And she don't lay no shame to that. Brilliant enough to maneuver that into a lingerie deal, because when she know she got the things out, and it's, you know what I mean, she's
Yeah,
marketing self-confidence in addition to getting more
right.
eyes on women's sports. She's talking about, you know, how she came to this point. She's also, I think, was a math teacher at some point in her life, or still, like, she's a fully well-rounded individual. She happens to be attractive to those that admire her aesthetics. All right.
Right,
And
right, right, right.
would you happen to know she came, shout out to my guy Zaya Wise out in Philly. She came out to Philly to work on her Philly shell. Like, she's
Wow.
serious when it comes to boxing. So please don't be fooled by the blonde bomber. Okay. This lady is serious business. And although you know, people might think her rise, you know, or her ascension was fast, I think it was right on time, because she came at a time right. And shout out to her dance partner, Shannon Courtney. You know, she came at a time in
Mm-hmm.
women's boxing where um we needed to see, you know, something different. In addition to all the skilled fighters, all the Olympic pedigrees, we needed a kind of like a debutante. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely Ebony Bridges plays the debutante. She's the Whitley, you know, the Whitley of a different world. You know, she played that
Oh yeah.
role. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
shout out to her. She's got a match coming up, about coming up rather, in December. Yeah, man. So yeah, women's boxing win days. People got to pay attention. I'm glad you pulled the quote. Like I
Yeah.
said, she, you know, you can never celebrate her enough, I don't think.
Right, right, right. I didn't want to go. I didn't want that to go by, and I'm checking for Ebony as well, man. Women's boxing is it's actually taking over because of some of the things that men's boxing is doing. It's leaving a big gap, and these women, man, check these women out, man. If you're not into women's boxing, I'm telling you, you're gonna be very surprised at what you see. Very surprised, man. These women dedicate themselves, and they, you know, we're just trying to garner some more attention for them. So salute the women's boxing on Women's Boxing Win Day.
Definitely, man. And let's get into some of the bouts this weekend, because this card also features women's boxing. Let's talk a little bit about the main event. You got Dimitri Bivol versus Gilberto Zirdo Ramirez. And we was in the pre-production behind the scenes, you mentioned a great point how Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya, when he want to build up one of his guys, he'll build up one of his guys. I
Right.
think Zerto was built up because I don't think he's really been tested enough. But we're gonna see, what he cut, because Bivol is coming off that Canelo win. So you know what I mean? Like, I don't see Zerto presenting, although there's a significant height difference, there may be a power difference just by virtue of size. I don't see the boxing IQ of Zerto being able to give Bivol any problems. I just don't see it happening.
I mean, unless it's something that's, unless it's one of them things to where, when you feel the power, it's different. I know he has a lot of fights, Zerto. I know that he had been calling for a lot of smoke with Ginger and a couple other people, and I just got to look at Bivol as Mr. Big Fundamentals. You know how they call
Yeah.
Earl Mr. Fundamentals?
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta lean on a technician like that. Like when he showed me when Canelo went up against that rope and was like, like, come on. And he was like, you know what I'm saying? You gonna fight my fight. See, that's the kind of discipline and the kind of stubbornness and the kind of, the intestinal fortitude that you need when these high calibers. It's like what you're used to doing on a day-by-day basis. Like your muscle memory. You used to use that jab. You might have missed that time, but you're working on everything and you're keeping everything the way it need to be. And I think it's not something that people be like, oh man, he's spectacular, but he's just Mr. Fundamentals. And
Tim
until I
Duncan.
see something outrageous, I'm not going to bet against it. I don't really have a dog in that race. I do know Gilberto, he's smooth. He's a smooth, you know what I'm saying? He's a smooth operator. And I unless it's some power, that's the only thing, because Bivol can get hit. And I think maybe it's an opportunity where, but I think it's going to be a close fight. I just got to go with Mr. Fundamentals. That's my pick. I'm going with Bivol, man.
Yeah.
He showed me that.
I feel like if it breaks down, Bivol is just going to jab, jab, jab. He's going to jab so much that he's going to feint the jab and land something good to the body. Then once he start going to the body, the jab is going to start working, and he's just going to slow and confuse Zerto. Like I said, I haven't seen him tested. I don't know what he's going to do. And if it's the power, he's going to have to land it flush, and we're going to have to see what Bivol's beard is like. So that's why I was saying Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was just Mr.
Right.
Fundamental. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing
Mm-hmm.
spectacular, but it works each and every time. So we're gonna see how it works for him. Swinging it back in the direction of the ladies, another one of your women's boxing Wednesday picks, and we talked about her, Chantelle Cameron. She is in action against your other women's boxing Wednesday pick, Jessica McCaskill. Ain't that a dandy?
Yeah. Man, I'm in love. I get to see them fight, man. Because I'm calling Jessica McCaskill, I'm calling her the Mantis, and I just think that, man, I'm not gonna pick one on that one. I look forward to seeing that fight. And I think that I could see some areas where both of them can be capitalized on, and that's just a treat. That's the boxing gods looking out, saying, "Hey, man, you didn't get this, but check this out." You know what I'm saying? And then we like, all right, cool, all right, the good looking. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to that fight. Do you have a dog in that race?
McCaskill, I like her style. Again, another fighter with the hands down. I would compare her very much so to a Sergio Martinez, or the hands down, kind of, Roy Jones-esque style. But I think her power, she kind of over relies on it, but she can hurt. She can hurt, but I think she over relies on it. I think it forces her. Now she does throw the jab in there. She will slip the jab in there and kind of counter, or she'll come with just a lead. She'll come with a lead right. I think Cameron, I don't know. I really don't know if she can keep McCaskill boxing. You know what I'm saying? I think McCaskill's so unorthodox with those 2-minute rounds. By the time she look up, I don't know. It's hard to pick. Now, truthfully, I kind of like Cameron. I don't know why. I don't want to feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm UK biased, but I feel like, Cameron in this fight, I think it sets up some other opportunities more on the UK side of things. I feel like McCaskill, if she wins this fight, she becomes undisputed. There's talks of, the Clarissa Shields, but I think the direction of which she's going, I don't hear her calling out nobody else. I just hear her calling out. It's kind of like I felt when I said if Darrell won, he's calling out Benavidez right away. He's calling out whoever's there. Or there's
Mm-hmm.
if Plant wins, then there's things in between and so on and so forth. I feel like
Right,
if
right. Yeah.
McCaskill win, it's trying to bait Clarissa and there's marketing and there's so many elements. Whereas if Cameron win, she's undisputed and she's going to give the next woman up her opportunity. It's not going to be a lot of, that going on. So I don't know if that's a good
Yeah,
reason or a
yeah.
fair reason.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that. I was just wondering, yeah, as far as looking forward, yes, I agree. Like I said, I don't know because I see some tendencies in the Caskilla that could be capitalized, but I don't know if Chantelle can capitalize on them.
And that's kind of how I
And
feel.
yeah, I don't know if she can though. That's why that's what makes it intriguing. I want to see it. I mean, it's just one of them things where I'm gonna sit back as a fan, and I'm gonna root both of them. I want a good fight, good sportsmanship, and hey, this is the time of the trilogies and the quadruplies and all this other stuff. So if it's good enough, maybe they're gonna run it back like like the other, like these other ladies. You know what I'm saying, that you like to talk about, that you're gonna be talking about, I guess.
No, definitely, definitely. Because Shannon Corton and Ebony Bridges, they had a back to back, and also Sandy Ryan had a back to back with I think is lady Pantera out of Argentina. So yeah, it's building up like that, man. Talking about one of those guys, Darrell and Benavidez and Plant. Well, one of the guys that I said that could be a
Mm-hmm.
potential monkey wrench is fighting this weekend, and that's David Morrell Jr., right? Because like I said, I think somehow
Right.
Uzgatti's still in play. Morel's got a belt. I'm telling you, we may never see Plant Benavidez. That's not me being pessimistic. That's just me understanding how sometimes they contaminate this game with a little bit of shit. Because now he's defending his belt. He's in a title defense. And so now it says, well, you know what? Why wouldn't Keller Plant take a belt? Why he's waiting for Benavidez against Morel and I smell pussy, man. I'm not with
Man,
this.
hey,
I'm not with this.
yeah, man. Hey, I've been on it, man. I've been on this guy. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said, man, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, man. That's why I'm like, this certain now when it comes to certain things, I just shut down certain conversations out there, man. Like, because I it's maneuvering. It's maneuvering, man. It's like when you want to give us, we're gonna, I mean, it's like Cinderella, man. It's like Cinderella, man. That's what I'm gonna start calling him, Cinderella, man.
You
Because
know,
when somebody finally find that slipper and put it on them, you know what I'm saying? We really gonna see, but like, what's the deal? Yo, Plant got in there and did what he needed to do. You go in there and make a statement against Plant. I would say, hey, the world gonna call for you and Ginger. Period.
but you know
What's the
something?
hold up?
You know something? This is like one of them unfortunate situations, man, because Morel, shit, you was calling him Cinderella. Like, I don't know how long he's been fighting these fights out in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
The middle of nowhere. Remember, every time you look up in PBC got a fight, this is like Nori doing reggaeton. Like you just trying to
oh,
capitalize on the market because you got a name as Noriega, but then you doing reggaeton, and it's like Morel has no business campaigning at 168 like he's actually campaigning at 168, and he ain't really fighting not nobody. He ain't even fight who's got the gi.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't saying. I was speaking on what's the name as being Cinderella,
Oh,
man. But as
Benavidez.
as far as Morel, yeah, man. As far as Morel, right? I don't know what happened. I saw him against Michael Fox, brother. What was it? What
Alontes
is it?
Fox.
Melantez? Yeah, yeah. I saw him against him, and I was so impressed, right? But then I was like, okay, look, and I had to go back and look at some resumes and say, okay, cool. Let me judge that. I saw flashes of brilliance, and then it kind of tapered off, and then I'm just like, why is this guy not getting the opportunity? Now I know he had been knocking on the door with Benavidez. At least that was the word on the street. I don't know. Maybe you know more than me because
Let me
I thought that's who he was in pursuit of, a Benavidez.
listen. Let me start slinging a little shit on everybody. Then, says, look, shout out to Benavidez. He gets shaking hands with Jake Paul. I get all that, but yo, they got not they. I'm saying Jean Pascal is in play for an IBF eliminator. You know what I'm saying? At light heavyweight. I don't know what's going on at 168, but I'm telling you, I don't even know if Benavidez stays at 168. I don't know.
Now hold on now. How convenient now? How convenient now? We talked about well, how long we been talking? How long now? We're gonna have to start documenting how long we been talking about Plant and Benavidez, man. How long we been kind of talking? How long they've been murmuring?
Oh,
Because it's getting old now. Like it's like Plant went in there and did what he needed to do. Now, I mean, why is that not being lined up? I don't know, man. I don't know.
yeah, man, it's not working out the way we wanted to when it come to Benavidez, and I, I'm with you on that. Cinderella man, maybe he was just granted this opportunity, because of the whole Mike Tyson appearance or whatever. But he got to be in there against somebody that we need and want to see him against, or else, you know what I'm saying? It's really gonna be very disappointing, very disappointing. I mean, he still got a lot to prove to us. The whole Mexican monster, this whole idea. I mean, shit. Let me see this nigga. The streets need a body. I need to see a body
Yeah,
first.
man. Yeah, man, he got to do it, man, or he gonna get exposed, man. You can play that game, but like I said, it's gonna be an age well game.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. Morrell need to make a statement though in closing on that subject. I want to see because I don't even know this guy. You know what I'm saying? He facing. I'm not even going. You know what I'm saying? Flim flam you. You know I don't know this guy. So
And as
if I
hardcore
don't
as I
know him,
am, and I am, I ain't never heard of the joke. I ain't never heard of him, man. Never, not never. I ain't never heard of him, man. So, but this
hey,
weekend, man, I'm definitely going to be in tune with what's happening with these fights. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us as always. Let them know where they can find you one more time, champ.
it's Bodywork Boxing on YouTube, Mr. _Bodywork Boxing on Instagram, and Bodywork Boxing 24/7 at Gmail. Here at Bodywork Boxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
And that's what counts in them championship rounds, ladies and gentlemen. We out of here.